All right. Hey, welcome everybody here with our second edition of the MSM Legends. I'm Terryn Adams, and I get to interview here with the famous Dr. Amos. So, can you actually tell me more about this painting behind you and the healer?
Yeah, thank you, Taryn. So the painting behind me, and I'll try to get just a quicker shot if I can. Sorry, my Zoom skills. But anyway, it's called The Healer, and it was a painting that was produced for the Morehouse School of Medicine. Many moons ago. I can't remember, but I have one of the numbered paintings. The original is with the school, and it was to capture the spirit of the school and that we were healers. And so the artist Bushi Upjohn, I think, still lives in Atlanta. He's a friend of mine. You can go to Upjohn Studios and Upjohn Art, and you probably can find him. But it was a beautiful picture, very colorful, and just I think it really we looked at several ideas, and it captured the spirit of what we believe Morehouse School of Medicine represents.
That's really interesting. That's a great story behind that painting too. That's amazing that it's so true to the spirit and the soul of Morehouse. So, if you could tell me more about your history in Morehouse and your experience there, what you like to do in your free time on your weekends in Atlanta, like just a little bit about Dr. Amos as the medical student.
Yeah, I'm a double Morehouse man, so I was a Morehouse undergrad, and then
Ah,
I started off. They had a special program where we started with the Morehouse School of Medicine, the freshman class, and we took
mm.
classes with them during the summer program. And
Oh,
if you were able to make B's in all your classes, you were automatically accepted in. And so the following year, I ended up coming to Morehouse. I was originally going to go back home. I was born outside Chicago, but I grew up in Michigan, and I planned on going to either U of M or Wayne State, and fell in love with Atlanta, as you know, we know, a wonderful city, and ended up staying at the Morehouse School of Medicine. Um, I think one of the unique things about the school was my classmates and I had so much fun going through. I talked to other people that went to other med schools. And of course, let me just say that I was the last class that during our clinical years, we became Emory hybrids. So my entire third year was spent at Emory and half of
right.
my fourth year at Emory and Grady Hospital. We had
Okay.
Emory, we had to pay Emory tuition. It was before the school was independent and doing their own clinical rotations. And I noticed even from the Emory students, they had a big class. They didn't know each other the way that we knew each other at the med school. We bowled together. We played basketball late nights together. We cried together. We went through tragedies and triumphs together. And it was really a family. One other fact was I was a part of that generation when President Bush Sr. Called
Right.
Dr. Sullivan away to serve as the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So I knew Dr. Sullivan quite well. We used to go to his house, and
Wow.
we had picnics and school outings, and then he became this big shot at Washington, and it brought a lot of notoriety to the school. But of course, we were sad to see him go because of his love for the school.
Just want to be clear that like you guys were close knit and intimate, not just as a class, but also amongst your administration and your professors as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Morehouse School of Medicine in those days was a family. I mean, we had
Right.
picnics together. We knew about each other's kids and our parents. Not the typical experience when you go to large universities. The classes were so big. Some of the guys and girls didn't know each other, but I knew all of my classmates, and I've maintained many of those friendships. I hate to say now, 3 decades later. I was the class of '91, so um,
Yeah, that's completely.
you
This
know,
is the year.
yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. And so, it was terrible. And I said '91, excuse me, they're gonna kill me. I'm class of '90. That's how you tell you're getting old. No, I'm class of '91. I am. I got it right because I finished residency in '96, 5 years later. So I
Okay,
was right.
okay.
So to your point though, we knew Dr. Sullivan personally, and his wife Ginger, and all of our
Mm.
classmates. We would go to his house at picnics, and then as is well known, he was taken to Washington D.C. by Bush Senior, where he served as the first Black, Secretary of Health and Human Services, a Black member on the cabinet. We were exceptionally proud of him, and it was just a great period of time. The other thing that was unique about that period is our clinical fellowships were done at Emory and Grady under the auspices of Emory University School of Medicine. And so we matriculated with the Emory students in the Grady and Emory Hospital. And so my entire third year, and perhaps probably half of my fourth year, was spent at Emory and Grady. And so that was different, but that also caused the Morehouse students to bond.
Yeah.
Um, I'll say this: from there, I went to the University of Mississippi Medical School, UMC, Old Miss's program. The medical center was in
Right.
Jackson. The school is in Oxford. There was a classmate from mine of Spelman that was there. I was the first African American male in the history of the state of Mississippi to be trained in surgery.
Wow.
And I love to say they told me when I got there were going to be changes. I thought they were talking about the weather. I mean, I'm from Michigan. I'm in Mississippi.
That's
And
what you're
so,
used to.
yeah, that was a very illuminating experience. I liken myself to the Megger Egger of surgery because, as we know, Megger Egger, matriculated into the University of Mississippi
Right.
back in the 60s. So,
No, that's a amazing title to go to among your many other titles you have as a surgeon. So that's really just so inspiring and like impactful for African Americans and us students today because I think it's also really interesting in particular to be a surgeon. I personally will say as a second year, I did do gross lab and I don't know if I'm still thinking about surgery or if I was, but I'd like to ask about your motivation into surgeries or internship. No, you are in general surgery. I'm like, you're a general surgeon, so like your interest in surgery and what sparked it all. What got you started?
well, so I'll say this. My first rotation, at Grady was OBGYN. And I saw those babies delivering, and I used to hang out in back then what was called the GEC. We had the gynecologic emergency room, we had the medical side and the surgical side. And I hung out and fell in love with this idea of bringing life into the world. And I was like, I'm going to be an obstetrician gynecologist. And then I saw them, doing hysterectomies and the procedure, and I was like, and we get to do surgery. And I was convinced of it. And then my next rotation, I rotated in general surgery. And I went to general surgery partly at Grady, and I did a rotation in the on the liver service where Dean Warren, who had been the general surgery chair, had passed away. But I was in the liver room doing liver transplants, and I was fascinated by the complexity of it, to go in and to cut and to change the trajectory of human life. I was struck by it. It was so difficult. And then me being the kind of person that when people tell me I can't do something, that's what I want to do. There was an attitude that, blacks weren't going to do surgery, and there weren't many black surgeons. And so, of course, I decided that is exactly what I was going to do. And I was going to go somewhere where no one had done it before. So, the Lord ended me up in the University of Mississippi. And as you know, I'm boarded in general surgery, and then I'm double boarded because my second board is surgical critical care. And that was to do trauma. And at the University of Mississippi, the majority of the patients that we were operating on from trauma were African American men. And I saw the disconnect between the people that were learning how to cut their teeth on black men and then going into prestigious jobs in affluent neighborhoods and making a great living after they had learned. And I was struck by a lightning bolt, and I said, we need black men in here in this emergency room treating these young brothers, somebody who can relate to, because everybody that gets shot or run over isn't a drug dealer. Sometimes people are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so like I said, the heavens opened up, and I knew I was going to be a surgeon. There was no stopping me. think also, because you said an MPH, or what
I
did
have
you?
a MSMS. I got my master's at
Okay.
Morehouse.
So you may one day want to run something.
Hmm.
And we need us. We need people that look like us, not just taking care of the patients, but also making the decisions. We need us making decisions that have financial impact on systems. And
Yes.
you may one day be, running an aspect of a hospital or healthcare. So don't just think about pulling the levers from a clinic. Get your clinical experience, but keep in the back of your mind that you may one day want to transition. You may have kids, you may want to do, and you can still impact healthcare from different points of view. Look at Dr. Valerie Montgomery Rice, what she's doing. So I'll tell on her, she was a third year resident when I was a third year student. And I
Oh,
with her, and she was part of why I thought I was going to be an OBGYN. And she was a diva back then, and I used to follow behind her, little puppy dog M3. And
that's
she
hilarious.
sit right down there, sit down. She crossed her little legs with her little nice little pumps on and stuff. And so
That's hilarious.
I love following behind, but they were, to see the Black females that were coming through Emory at that time was also inspirational. So
That's an amazing story. That really is so inspirational. I can only thank you for sharing with us today and giving all of that information and your experience, your resistance, your persistence, your perseverance. That all of it is really just so inspiring. So I want to thank you for being with us here today, Dr. Amos. And I have one more question to ask. For those of you who are watching, I would like to ask if you consider investing in your MSM legacy. Us, students like myself, please text MSM Legends, that's MSM Legends, to 41444. Thank you so much for your time with us today, Dr. Amos. This has really been a great time. And have a
thank
good
you.
evening. Good
And
evening. Stay
you
safe
do
out
the same.
there.
You too.